What is going on, everyone? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, and I no longer have braces. This is amazing. I can actually talk like a normal person. It's not difficult to speak, and I don't have to keep constantly editing out parts where I sound like a complete pansy. But moving on to the topic of today's video, we all know that Fallout 4 is effectively ending next month with the Nuka World DLC. Now, while this seems like all doom and gloom, I'm making this video which collates together my personal top 5 games that I believe are a must play for any Fallout fan, and certainly after Fallout 4 ends, I highly recommend that you all do play these games. Before I get to my own personal list though, I would love to get all of your suggestions as to games that Fallout fans should play after Fallout 4 DLC in the form of Nuka World is all done and dusted and complete next month. So with all that out of the way, here are my top 5 games to play after Fallout 4 ends. Enjoy. Alrighty, you all knew that I was going to put this game on my list, so let me just get it out of the way now so you don't have to hear me constantly talk about Bioshock. I truly do think that Bioshock is a must-play game for any Fallout fan. Based in the 1960s, this game is set in the underwater city known as Rapture that was created by a businessman and tycoon known as Andrew Ryan. The intention of the city was simple, to create a utopia for its inhabitants, providing them all with an escape from society above the water, through things such as religion and government. And it was all going well until the discovery of Adam, a genetic material that, once injected into the body, can grant the user what are effectively superpowers, such as firing electricity from one's hand. However, many of those in Rapture slowly turned crazy because of the Adam use, and now they roam the halls as splicers, and will attack anything and anyone on sight. You, as the protagonist Jack, arrive in this underwater dystopia with no clue of what's going on, only being guided by a voice over the radio. It's a scary, eerie, hopeless experience that will have you fending for survival and keeping your head on a swivel at all times. But it's truly a phenomenal game that has an amazing story, and the setting of Rapture is just eerily beautiful that immerses you from the get-go, and I cannot more highly recommend this game. But let's talk about other games that aren't Bioshock. Some of you may remember Maddie and I talking about this game, which is certainly no surprise as Rage does share some similarities to games such as Fallout. Rage is effectively a first-person shooter. No surprise, you are set in a post-apocalyptic world thanks to the crash of an asteroid on Earth. Similar to the beginning of Fallout 4, you as the protagonist wake up after being in stasis for over 100 years in an underground Ark shelter. You then meet a man known as Dan Hager, who, after taking you back to his settlement, lets you know that a group is looking for you specifically because you are an Ark survivor. Now, I'll be honest, the story isn't necessarily the most compelling aspect of this game. It's more the gameplay that is very solid and fun. It features a Borderlands style driving mechanic, it has unique graphics, and the world was also very interesting to me as well. As a lover of post-apocalyptic atmosphere and immersion, I found something about Rage that I loved, and I think that other Fallout fans will feel the same. Now, Wasteland 2 is probably a game that many of those who have played Fallouts 1 and 2 would already be familiar with. However, if you've only started the Fallout series with Fallouts 3, New Vegas or 4, then perhaps not so much. While Wasteland 2 is obviously a post-apocalyptic game that is also an RPG, it isn't a first-person game. Rather, Wasteland 2 is a top-down game that features a semi-overhead view that can rotate, similar to the original Fallouts, especially because it is a turn-based tactical combat RPG. Developed by Inexile Entertainment, with the involvement of people that you should know by now, such as old Interplay boss Brian Fargo as director and Chris Avallone as designer, you are set in a world that has gone through a nuclear war on a global scale, and you control a team of 4 rangers who are initially tasked with investigating the death of a fellow ranger. And what do you know, this game has you discovering the existence of AI synthetic humans, otherwise known as synths. Does that sound familiar? I'll stop talking about the story here though. As you've gathered, this game has a lot of similar themes and elements to Fallout, but that's no coincidence, because Fallout 1 was actually inspired by the original Wasteland game, not the other way around. So while this isn't your typical first-person game, as Fallout fans, I say you give it a chance. You all know Borderlands. They're just awesomely fun games to play, especially with friends. Now, while my personal favourite game in the franchise has to be Borderlands 2, I think that everyone should start with the original, Borderlands. Borderlands is an action role-playing FPS that's developed by Gearbox Software. You play as one of 4 characters: Mordecai the Hunter, who's my personal favourite, Roland the Soldier, Lilith the Siren, and Brick the Berserker. Each of these characters has a unique skill, and you assign points to them each time you level up, to acquire other skills, and also to improve your own unique skill. Importantly, you can play this game with up to 3 other people, which I think is the most fun way to play, and there is literally about a bazillion guns in the game that are randomly generated with many different elemental variants, and there are also grenades and protective shields that you can modify as well. In terms of the setting, you are set on the planet of Pandora that, at the very least, has a post-apocalyptic feel to it. After arriving in the town of Firestone in search of a vault that is supposed to have a lot of treasures, someone known as the Guardian Angel tries to communicate with you and then instructs you on your journey to the vault. Along the way, you'll complete other missions or side quests similar to Fallout, meet a bunch of awesome characters, and just explore the whole world of Pandora. While the story is rather lackluster, it's the gameplay, gunplay, and also the vehicle play that makes the game incredibly fun, and especially with friends, I assure you, you're going to have a great time. Metro 2033, you are a beautiful pain in the ass. The Metro series, which recently got a redone Redux version, has got to be, in my opinion, the series that most closely resembles Fallout, but it does have a completely different character of its own. Yes, it's a first-person shooter game set in a post-apocalyptic Moscow that was ruined thanks to a nuclear war. You'll spend a lot of time of your game in the underground metro tunnels of Moscow, where survivors are forced to live thanks to the radiation above ground and also the many monsters that now exist. You, as the protagonist Artyom, are tasked with killing the Dark Ones, an evil mutant race. Effectively, this game is all about survival. You can play it either through stealth or guns blazing, with a small variety of weapons that come with your typical modifications such as scopes and silencers. While sometimes you do shoot at other humans, the world of Metro has a bunch of crazy mutated enemies as well, similar to Fallout, and because of the radiation, you must wear a gas mask in certain areas, especially when you explore the above surface ground of Moscow. And this mask can get damage and operates on filters that need to be constantly scavenged and replaced. Speaking of which, scavenging is a huge part of this game. Ammo is limited, as well as medkits and other items including grenades, so you do need to ensure that you constantly scavenge, usually with your flashlight on because the game is typically very dark. And similar to Fallout and Caps, the game has a currency in the form of military-grade ammunition that can actually be used in your guns as well. The game's story is also interesting to me. Yes, it's a linear narrative experience that features cutscenes, but personally I did enjoy it. It sometimes requires that you make moral choices, and the ending is very interesting as well. All that I'll say is that game was literally made for Fallout fans, and I highly suggest that you play it. So anyways, guys and girls, that's all from me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and again, comment your suggestions for games that Fallout fans can play after Fallout 4 is completed. And be sure to engage in highly debated discussion in the comments below. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.